I was in the middle of my shift at the warehouse when I got the email. Just one line from Dana, no greeting, no emotion. Taking the RV, you've got the loan, so you can deal with it. Don't call. That was it. At first I thought it was a joke. Maybe she was pissed about something and trying to make a point. But as soon as I read it again, I knew. Something had snapped. My hands were shaking when I stepped outside and hit call. She picked up like it was a normal Tuesday. "Hey," she said, cool as ever. "Dana, what the hell's going on?" I asked. She didn't hesitate. "I've fallen in love with someone else. His name's Ben. We're leaving. I'm done pretending." I stood there, mouth half open, staring at the parking lot like it could give me answers. "You're what? You're just taking off with some guy?" I tried to stay calm, but my voice cracked on that last word. "We're taking the RV," she said. "Already on the road." "That thing's in my name, Dana. You know my credit's clean. That loan's still got over 37 grand left on it." She laughed, short and sharp. "Yeah, that's your problem now." Then she hung up. Just like that. Gone. Before we continue, real quick, what city or country are you watching from right now? I called again. Straight to voicemail, texted, emailed, nothing. I should have known. A few months back, we'd talked about divorce, just casually. She'd even brought it up, said we should get ahead of things before resentment built, but she never followed through. Now I knew why. I left work early and drove home like a zombie, heart in my throat the whole way. I went straight to the drawer where we kept important papers, wills, medical stuff, and those half-filled divorce forms. Gone. She'd taken those too. I turned around, and there was Nate at the kitchen table, 11 years old, homework spread out in front of him, like it mattered. He looked up at me, smiling like nothing was wrong. "Hey, Dad, we got any more glue sticks?" I couldn't answer. I just stared at him, my whole world tilting under me. I swallowed hard, walked over, and opened the supply drawer. "Yeah. Got one here?" I handed it to him with a smile that took everything I had. He went back to cutting paper like it was just another school project. I stood there in the kitchen, trying not to fall apart, wondering how the hell I was going to tell him his mom just walked out, with my RV, and some guy named Ben. He didn't ask where she was that night, just worked on his project and went to bed like it was any other Monday. I didn't sleep, just laid there on my back staring at the ceiling, phone in my hand, hitting refresh on my email every few minutes like something might change. The next morning, I tried her again, straight to voicemail, texted her. "Please just tell me what you're doing." Nothing. I even messaged Ben's Facebook account. No response, but I could see they'd read it. 2 more days of that. Same routine. I'd call from the parking lot on my break, email during lunch, send one last text before bed. Meanwhile, Nate started to notice. "You okay, Dad? You've barely touched your food." He said it over dinner, staring at my plate. "Just tired," I muttered, chewing the same bite of pork chop for what felt like a full minute. But he didn't drop it. He leaned forward a little, looked me dead in the eye. "I know Mom hasn't been home. It's been 4 days." I set my fork down, my chest tightened like I'd just been punched. He kept staring, waiting, no panic, just quiet. I felt something crack open in me. "She left," I said. My voice came out flat. "She said she fell in love with someone else, took the RV, and left." He nodded, just once, like it confirmed something he'd already guessed. "Okay," he said, then went back to his mashed potatoes. No tears, no yelling, just okay. I wanted to tell him it wasn't okay, that none of this was, but I didn't have the words. I still had to work. Bills didn't care if your wife ran off with a stranger. But I was moving through the days like a ghost, couldn't focus, couldn't lift without feeling dizzy. Then, during a forklift training session at work, middle of a Thursday, I was standing next to the instructor, nodding along, when my knees just buckled. Next thing I knew, I was staring up at the ceiling lights, voices echoing around me. "Don't move him! Someone call an ambulance!" The ER smelled like bleach and burnt coffee. I had IVs in both arms. A nurse asked me if I knew my name. "Yeah," I croaked. "I'm not crazy. I'm just tired." Doctor came in an hour later, late 30s, serious face, clipboard in hand. "Your blood pressure's dangerously high. You're dehydrated, low iron, and your heart rate's been erratic since you came in. You under any unusual stress lately?" I laughed, the kind of dry, bitter laugh that doesn't even feel like yours. "Yeah," I said. Something like that. He gave me a look. We're keeping you for observation. Might be more going on here. I didn't argue. I didn't have the energy. I just nodded and closed my eyes, picturing Nate sitting at the table alone, wondering why no one came home this time. I was still lying there with the IV in my arm when I heard the door creak open. Nate stepped in with a woman from his school, one of those counselors who looks like she's seen a lot. He froze when he saw the wires and tubes sticking out of me. His face went pale. "You're not gonna die, are you?" I forced a smile, but my throat felt like sandpaper. "No, buddy, I'm gonna be fine." I wasn't sure that was true. The counselor stayed near the door, watching us like a hawk, but giving us space. Nate walked closer, his sneakers squeaking on the tile. "What happened?" he asked. "Stress, I guess," I said. "They're running tests." He stared at the heart monitor for a second, then back at me. "You look bad." I chuckled, weak but real. "Thanks for the honesty." Later that afternoon, the doctor came back in, flipping through my chart. He didn't sugarcoat it. "We've got your scans. You've got an intestinal blockage and some arterial damage. You're going to need surgery, and soon." I glanced at Nate, then back at the doctor. "How soon?" "Tomorrow if we can get the slot. Waiting isn't an option." The counselor put a hand on Nate's shoulder, but he didn't flinch. He just looked at me, eyes steady. "You gotta do it," he said. His voice cracked on the last word, but he didn't cry. "I know," I said quietly. "I know." That night, lying awake with the beeping machines, I thought about the bills piling up. The loan for the RV, the empty house. My chest hurt more than my stomach. The next morning, they wheeled me down for surgery. Cold halls, bright lights. The anesthesiologist told me to count backward from 10. When I woke up, everything felt heavy and distant. My throat burned from the tube. Nate was sitting in the chair by the bed, knees pulled up, staring at the floor. "You made it," he said. I nodded, couldn't talk yet. 3 weeks, that's how long they kept me. Nurses in and out, physical therapy, a social worker asking if there was someone at home to help me. I kept saying, "It's just me and my son." Nate visited after school every day, brought me drawings and updates from class. He'd sit there doing his homework while I drifted in and out of sleep. Kid was tougher than I'd ever been. Finally, they cleared me to go home. No one to pick me up but a cab. I climbed into the back seat with a plastic bag of meds and a discharge packet. House smelled like stale air and laundry detergent when I walked in. I set the bag down on the counter and turned on my laptop to check my bank account. $26.74. Last time I'd checked, there had been over $18,000 in savings. I refreshed the page, thinking it was a glitch. Same number. I opened the statement. Transfers, withdrawals. One after another, all to Dana's name. My hands started shaking. The auto loan for the RV was overdue. No payments made while I was in the hospital. My truck had been repossessed while I was recovering. No money, no vehicle, no clue where she was. I stood there in the kitchen, gripping the counter with both hands, staring at the screen like it might change if I looked hard enough. It didn't. I sank to the floor, back against the kitchen cabinet, the laptop screen still glowing with that stupid number. $26. I felt hollowed out. A few minutes later, I heard the front door click shut. Nate had let himself in after school. I didn't move, didn't even look up. He walked over and stood in front of me for a second. Then he crouched down and put a hand on my shoulder. "We'll figure it out," he said. His voice was calm, solid. "You rest. I'll deliver flyers or walk dogs or something." I stared at him. My 11-year-old son talking about getting a job while I was still trying to breathe through the mess his mother left behind. That kid had more backbone than I ever did at that age. Hell, more than most grown men I knew. Then he added, "Let's get the RV back." I blinked. "What?" He sat down next to me and pulled out his phone. "Remember that GPS tracker you put on Mom's phone when we set up the family emergency stuff? Same one you put on mine?" "Yeah." I wiped my face with the back of my hand. "I never deleted it," he said, tapping the screen. "She didn't either." He held it up. There was a blinking red dot on the map, parked off some back road near a patch of green. 18 miles away, he said. Forest Campground, the one she used to take me to when you were working weekends. I leaned in and stared at it. She really was that dumb, or maybe that arrogant. "You sure it's the RV?" I asked. "She's been there since yesterday afternoon," he said. "Not moving. I zoomed in. It's parked off the main lot, just like she always used to do. He'd thought this through. My first instinct was to shut it down. I didn't want him involved in any of this. It wasn't his fight. But then I looked at him. Really looked at him. That calm, sharp stare. He wasn't scared. He wasn't breaking down. I was the one falling apart. He saw me hesitate. "We're not stealing it," he said. "It's yours. You're still paying the loan, right?" "Yeah," I muttered. "Then it's yours. She took it. Let's take it back." I nodded slowly, still felt like I was underwater, but his words were cutting through the noise. He got up and grabbed his school backpack. "You should eat something," he said over his shoulder. "I'll make grilled cheese." I couldn't help it. I laughed, just a little. He went to the fridge like this was just a regular Tuesday, like we weren't flat broke, vehicle-less and abandoned. And maybe that's what snapped me back into gear. Not the RV, not Dana. It was Nate. He wasn't just surviving, he was planning. And damn it, if he could fight, so could I. I didn't want him in it. No matter how strong he acted, Nate was still just a kid. But it didn't matter. He was already 10 steps ahead of me. That night, after grilled cheese and chips, he sat me down with a stack of papers and his Chromebook open. "I went to your work while you were in the hospital," he said, pulling out a folded piece of notebook paper. "Told your boss what happened." My stomach twisted. "You what?" "Relax. He was cool. Said if you needed time off, he'd figure something out. One of the forklift guys, Doug, helped me look up Ben." I leaned forward. "How?" "Facebook," he said, like it was obvious. Ben worked at a place called Turner Tool Supply. Posted a bunch of photos from their company fishing trip. One of them had Mom in it, from, last month. I grabbed the laptop and scrolled. There she was, sitting on a folding chair, drink in hand, wearing the hoodie I'd gotten her for Christmas last year. Ben had his arm around her like he'd known her forever. Nate tapped another tab. "And this? DMV website. I ran the VIN off the RV, titles in your name." He slid a printed page across the table. Title information, loan balance, owner listed as me. Not a single signature from Dana. I rubbed my eyes. "Where'd you even find the VIN?" "You had it in your email. I found it in the inbox folder." My heart was pounding. I didn't know whether to be proud or pissed. He sat back and crossed his arms. "It's not theirs. It's yours. Let's file a report. Say it was stolen." I stared at him. "That's a big step." "They stole it, Dad." His voice got sharper. "They left you broke, sick, and stuck in a hospital bed. She drained everything, and she's driving around in your RV with some guy who doesn't even pay for his own bait." I couldn't argue with any of it. Still, I hesitated. Filing a report meant crossing a line. It meant starting something that couldn't be undone. But then I pictured Dana's email, that smug, cold message. "That's your problem now." I thought about the 18 grand that vanished while I was flat on my back, stitched up and bleeding into hospital sheets. I reached for my phone. Nate didn't say a word. He just sat there, waiting. I dialed the non-emergency number, gave them my name, the VIN, and the story. When the woman on the other end asked if I wanted to press charges, I paused. Then I said, "Yes." 3 days later, my phone rang just after 7 a.m. I was halfway through microwaving leftover eggs when I saw Dana's name flash across the screen. I let it ring once, twice. Then I picked up. Her voice was sharp, frantic. "The cops are here. What the hell did you do?" I didn't answer her right away. Just grabbed my keys. "Where are you?" "You know where I am," she snapped. "You called the cops on me, over the RV. I'll be there in 30. I hung up. Nate was already by the door, shoes on. "Was that her?" "Yeah, let's go." He didn't ask anything else. We drove in silence down a winding road past trees and gravel lots until we pulled into that same forest campground she used to bring Nate to on long weekends. The RV sat crooked in a clearing lot. 2 patrol cars were parked nearby. Dana stood off to the side, arms folded, pacing in tight circles. Ben was sitting on the RV steps, pale, fidgeting with his hands. 2 officers stood nearby, talking to each other, but watching everything. I walked up and asked for a minute alone with her. One of the officers raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "Yeah, just a minute." They nodded and stepped a few feet away. Dana turned, looking straight through me like I was some stranger off the street. "You really called the police? What the hell, Greg?" I didn't bother answering. I just jerked my thumb toward the RV. Inside, let's talk. She huffed, rolled her eyes, but walked up the steps. Ben followed her without a word. Nate and I came in last. The inside looked lived in. Crumbs on the counters, throw blanket on the couch, shoes in the corner. Like they'd moved in. Dana leaned against the little kitchenette and crossed her arms like she wasn't in the middle of committing a felony. Look, we were just using it for a little trip. We were going to bring it back. No, I said flat. Return the keys. It's theft. Ben flinched but didn't speak. Nate stepped forward. Why'd you abandon us for this guy? Silence. Ben looked down at his sneakers. Dana rolled her eyes. I didn't abandon anyone. I needed something different. You needed to drain Dad's bank account? Nate's voice cracked, but he stood his ground. I took what I needed to get started, she snapped. It wasn't even that much. $18,000, I said, and you left your kid wondering if his mom was dead or just didn't give a damn. Ben shifted like he was just realizing this wasn't the version of events he'd been told. Dana's mouth tightened. It's not that black and white. It is when you're still married to me, I said, and robbing me blind. You weren't robbed, she shot back. You're being dramatic. Nate's fists clenched at his sides. You don't even care that Dad almost died, do you? She looked at me then, maybe for the first time in weeks, took in how thin I was, how my arms still shook. Ben looked at her. You didn't say he was in the hospital. She didn't respond. The tension in the RV was thick enough to choke on. No one moved, no one breathed. Then I held out my hand. Keys, now. She didn't move, just stared at my hand like I was asking for the moon. Then Nate said, cool as ever, we found you through the GPS on your phone. Ben's head snapped up. Wait, what? Dana blinked like she didn't understand. The emergency tracker, Nate said. You never turned it off. I pulled it up and found the RV sitting here. Ben stood up slowly. You've been tracking her? No, I said. We installed it years ago, just in case something happened on the road. She forgot it was there. He turned to Dana. You knew they could see where we were this whole time? She looked cornered. I didn't think they'd remember. Nate didn't let up. He looked down at her stomach, then back up at her face. Is that your kid? She froze. Ben's eyes went wide. What? You didn't tell him? I said. Jesus, Dana. Ben took a step back. Wait, you're pregnant? She didn't answer, just rested a hand on her belly like she could hide it. Nate said, clear as day. She's 5 months along. Ben stared at her, stunned. We met 3 months ago. Silence. Tell me he's lying, Ben said, pointing at Nate. She didn't say a word. He shook his head, face turning red. You told me I was the first guy you were with since the marriage fell apart. You said it was over long before we met. Dana finally spoke, but her voice was thin. It was over. I didn't lie. You didn't lie? He snapped. You're 5 months pregnant and you've been acting like this thing between us was real? What the hell am I even doing here? He looked around the RV like it suddenly disgusted him. Then he grabbed his hoodie off the couch and stormed out the door without another word. Dana sat down hard on the bench by the table, hands shaking. Nate looked at her like she was just another stranger. By the way, he said, we called your parents. They're outside. Her head shot up. You what? I figured they should know where you were, he said, and what you've been doing. She got up and moved toward the door fast, but before she even touched the handle, it swung open. Her dad walked in first, jaw clenched, eyes cold. Her mom followed right behind, arms crossed, lips pressed tight. Hi, sweetheart, her mom said. Got anything you want to explain? Dana's voice cracked. It's not what it looks like. I didn't mean for it to go this way. Her dad didn't say anything, just stared at her with disgust. I needed space, she said, eyes darting to each of us. I didn't think it would blow up like this. I thought... You thought? Her mom snapped. You thought you could abandon your kid and steal money from your husband and we'd just back you up. Dana looked like a deer in headlights. She turned to them, eyes starting to tear up. Can you guys just help me, please? Her dad didn't flinch. You made this bed. You're on your own now? He turned and walked out. Her mom gave one last look, sharp, final, then followed. Dana stood there, all alone in the middle of that RV, looking like the walls had just caved in. She stood there frozen, breathing hard, eyes still darting between the door and the three of us. I stepped forward and kept my voice low, steady. You've got one option left, Dana. Return the money, or I press full charges. She blinked like she didn't hear me right. You can't do that. We're still married. I almost laughed. You filed, remember? Took the papers out of the drawer before you ran off. She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue, then shut it. We're nothing now, I said. No joint account, no shared future. Just your name on my debt and your fingerprints all over my stolen property. She stepped back, wobbling slightly. I don't have 18,000. Then give me what's left, I said. Now. She hesitated again. Then Nate pulled out his phone and held it up. Want me to call the cops back? Dana's face twisted. She looked between me and Nate like one of us might back down. We didn't. After a long second, she groaned and walked over to a cabinet drawer near the bed, pulled out a small brown envelope and tossed it on the table. It slid across and stopped in front of me. Cashier's check, she muttered. 3,500, that's all that's left. I picked it up, checked it, then reached my hand out again. She knew what it meant. She dug the keys out of her hoodie pocket and slapped them into my palm. Hope it was worth it, I said. She glared at me. You think you're better than me now? No, I said, heading for the door. I always was. Nate followed me out without another word. I handed the keys to the cops and gave them the quick version. Everything was settled, no further action needed, for now. A week later, I sold the RV to a retired couple from Spokane, used the money to pay off the rest of the loan in full. I hired a lawyer the same day, filed for damages, back theft, and child support. She didn't show up to the first hearing, didn't show to the second. Judge approved everything, garnished wages, automatic deductions. Ben vanished, deleted all his socials, changed his phone number. I never saw him again. Dana tried reaching out a couple times. Emails, a voicemail once, even sent a card for Nate. I didn't open it, didn't answer, didn't write back. She'd already made her choices. It's been about a year now. My health's back on track. Not perfect, but solid. I'm working steady again, doing contracting jobs with a buddy from high school who runs his own crew. Most days I'm up at 6, on site by 7, home by 4. It's nothing glamorous, but it's clean work, honest pay, and it keeps the lights on. Nate's doing great, still sharp as hell. Kids in advanced math and helping run the school newsletter. He doesn't talk about what happened much, but I can tell he remembers everything. And honestly, he came out of it stronger. We get $500 a month from Dana's wages. Doesn't go far in this economy, but it covers Nate's sports fees and keeps him in cleats and pencils. The RV's gone. So is the debt. I never got the full 18,000 back, not even close. But I got something else. I got peace. Seeing Dana's face when her own parents walked away from her, that was its own kind of justice. That cold look in her dad's eyes when he said, "You're on your own now." I'll never forget that. Sometimes Nate jokes when I burn dinner or mess up the laundry. He'll smirk and say, "Guess I'm the man of the house now." He's not wrong. He watched me fall apart, then helped me put the pieces back together. That kid stepped up in a way no one else ever has. I cook now. Not great, but edible. I go to every one of his games, even if I have to leave work early or show up muddy from the job site. I don't miss a minute. I know now what matters. Looking back, I should have seen Dana's selfish streak a mile away. It wasn't sudden. It was there in the way she always put herself first. Small stuff I let slide. But it doesn't matter now. What matters is this house, this kid, this life we're building. Nate and I, we're good. We're better than good. We're a team. One kid, one fight, one future. That's all I need.